Do you believe that celebrities starring in movies and television marketed to children should have an obligation to serve as a good role model for the youth of the world? Do you believe that celebrities starring in movies and television marketed to children should have an obligation to serve as good role models for the youth of the world?
I don't know that I look at it as an obligation. I think I look at it as a privilege. If you've been given influence and public status and you're getting paid to do it, I think that it's a personal responsibility to go ahead and be a role model and teach other people to be a person of integrity and a person of honor. That's how I want my kids to see me. I would hope that celebrities would want the same for their kids and for other people's children as well.
That is finalist number 13, Mrs. Minnesota International, Stephanie Welter. Mrs. Alabama International is finalist number 14, Ashley Gann.
Welcome, Ashley. Share with us a little bit about your platform.
As a CBS meteorologist, I get to share my love for science every day. But as a female, I only make up about 20% of all meteorologists, and this is staggering because in 15 short years, nearly 80% of all jobs will require a STEM component. That's science, technology, engineering, or math. So my goal as your Mrs. International to engage our youth, especially young girls, in these subjects. We've got to build that confidence today to inspire innovators for tomorrow, building a brighter future for us all.
What do you believe has been the most important judicial decision made in the past year? What do you believe has been the most important judicial decision made in the past year?
Well, I would say one very important decision that is currently still being made is our healthcare system. I think there's lots of conversations yet to be had, and I think on both sides of the aisle we need to have much better communication on how we deal with this. We have a personal responsibility as a country to make sure that we're providing better opportunities and better health care for everyone. Thank you.
That's Mrs. Alabama International, delegate number 14, Ashley Gann. Finalist number 15 is Mrs. Arkansas International, Lindsay Wright.
Good evening, Lindsay. Share with us your platform.
At the age of 11, I tragically lost both grandparents to heart disease. Knowing that family history, I am determined to leave a different legacy. As an advocate for the American Heart Association and Alliance for a Healthier Generation, I educate children on daily exercise and making nutrition choices fun. Understanding risk factors are key to prevention. It's not about fitting your family into a mold, it's assessing your environment, making simple changes, and living a heart-happy life.
Many urban areas around the world are grappling with gentrification. Should governments be regulating these projects? Why or why not? Many urban areas around the world are grappling with gentrification. Should governments be regulating these projects? Why or why not?
It is definitely a fine line when the government steps into these kind of particular situations. And I think it's important that we work together as a community in those urban areas, that we make a stance and make our point known so that the government knows how to come in and make sure that they're making the right decision for our personal well-being and our personal growth.
That's finalist number 15, Lindsay Wright, Mrs. Arkansas International. And finalist number 16 is Mrs. Haiti International, Judy Leger.
Welcome, Judy. Share with us a little bit about your platform.
20 people are abused per minute by their intimate partner in the United States alone. I became part of that statistic where I almost was murdered, not only once, but twice. With my nonprofit organization, Chit Chat with Juju, we do empowerment workshops. We plan to educate women on the signs of an abusive partner. As Mrs. International, I will continue to educate women all across the world. Thank you.
Some argue that recent gun violence is more of a mental health problem than a gun control issue. Do you agree? Why or why not? Some argue that recent gun violence is more of a mental health problem than a gun control issue. Do you agree? Why or why not?
I believe that the government should pass a law where people that are buying guns should have a background check and to see if they have any mental issues. I believe if that's done, then there'll be less crimes and it'll be less terrorism. Thank you.
That is finalist number 16, Mrs. Haiti International, Judy Leger. And that concludes our 2017 on-stage interview competition. How about a round of applause for all of our finalists? They all did a fantastic job. And how about a round of applause for our interviewer, Mrs. Rebecca Negretti? And that brings us to the intermission.
That's right. When we come back, we'll be heading straight into more rounds of competition from the 16 beautiful women we just heard and saw in the on-stage interview.
They will be competing in fitness wear and evening gown competitions.
It's all coming up right after this short break. We'll be right back.
Everyone, welcome back, and I hope that you enjoyed that little break in the action.
Speaking of action, Kyle, the first half was amazing, and our judges have an incredibly challenging decision ahead of them tonight.
Very true, Rebecca, and speaking of our judges, they are now back in their seats and ready to get back to work.
Our top 16 delegates are also ready to get back to work and are in the wings right now, ready to show off some more of their talents. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your top 16 finalists in the fitness competition.
Finalist number 1 is Mrs. Nevada International, Lori Mendoza. That's finalist number 1, Mrs. Nevada International, Lori Mendoza.
Finalist number 2, Melanie Caceres, Mrs. Georgia International. Mrs. Georgia International, Melanie Caceres, finalist number 2.
Finalist number 3, Mrs. Virginia International, Tiffany Borsheim. That's Tiffany Borsheim, finalist number 3, Mrs. Virginia International.
Finalist number 4, Vida Hardgren, Mrs. Florida International. Finalist number 4, Vida Hardgren, Mrs. Florida International.
Finalist number 5 is Melissa Parker, Mrs. Southeast International. That's Melissa Parker, finalist number 5, Mrs. Southeast International.
Finalist number 6, Mrs. Pennsylvania International, Amanda Lieber. That's finalist number 6, Amanda Lieber, Mrs. Pennsylvania International.
Andrea Brower is finalist number 7, Mrs. Arizona International. That's Mrs. Arizona International, finalist number 7, Andrea Brower.
Finalist number 8, Ashley Ray Klinger, Mrs. Midwest International. Mrs. Midwest International, finalist number 8, Ashley Ray Klinger.
Naomi Gibbs is finalist number 9, Mrs. Idaho International. That's Mrs. Idaho International, finalist number 9, Naomi Gibbs.
Finalist number 10, Shayna Smith, Mrs. Tennessee International. Mrs. Tennessee International, finalist number 10, Shayna Smith.
Laurie Long is finalist number 11, Mrs. California International. That's Mrs. California International's finalist number 11, Laurie Long.
Finalist number 12, Melissa Pozza, Mrs. Michigan International. Mrs. Michigan International, finalist number 12, Melissa Pozza.
Mrs. Minnesota International is finalist number 13, Stephanie Welter. That is finalist number 13, Mrs. Minnesota International, Stephanie Welter.
Finalist number 14, Ashley Gann, Mrs. Alabama International. Mrs. Alabama International, Ashley Gann, finalist number 14.
Mrs. Arkansas International is finalist number 15, Lindsay Wright. That's finalist number 15, Lindsay Wright, Mrs. Arkansas International.
Finalist number 16, Judy Leger, Mrs. Haiti International. Mrs. Haiti International, finalist number 16, Judy Leger. And those were our top 16 finalists in the fitness wear competition. How about a nice round of applause for all of your finalists?
We are getting closer and closer to announcing the new Mrs. International. While we're waiting to find out who that's going to be, there are some very special guests with us this evening that right now I'd like Rebecca to introduce you to.
That's right, Kyle. So joining us tonight, we have several special guests. Mrs. International 1998, Lisa Mosier. Mrs. International 2001, Marianne Oden. Mrs. International 2005, Virginia Thornton. Mrs. International 2006, Susie Boots. Miss International 2005, Sarah Wall Beckman. Miss International 2014, Samantha Riddle. Miss International 2016, Amanda Moreno. And Miss Teen International 2016, Garen Harris. And last week we crowned 2 new title holders. Please welcome Miss International 2017, Kelsey Kraft. Along with her sister queen, Miss Teen International 2017, Carly Peters. We'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us this evening and being such great supporters of the Mrs. International pageant system. Now, we only have one finals competition left this evening, but while the ladies and their husbands are getting set for the beautiful evening gown event, I'd like to welcome to the stage one of my personal favorite singers. Singing the song Perfect, please welcome my co-host, Mr. Kyle Henry.
I found a love for me. So darling, just dive right in and follow my lead. I found a girl, beautiful and sweet. I never knew you were the someone waiting for me. 'Cause we were just kids when we fell in love, not knowing what it was. I will not let you go this time. Darling, just kiss me slow. Your love is all I own, and in your eyes you're holding mine. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, listening to our favorite song. When you said you looked a mess, I whispered underneath my breath, but you heard it. Darling, you look perfect tonight. I found a woman stronger than anyone I know. She shares my dreams. I hope that someday I'll share her home. I found a love to carry more than just my secrets, to carry love, to carry children of our own. We are still kids and we're so in love, fighting against all odds. I know we'll make it through this time. Darling, just hold my hand. Be my girl, I'll be your man. I see my future in your eyes. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark, my arms, barefoot in the grass, listening to our favorite song. When I saw you in that dress, looking so beautiful, I don't deserve this, 'cause you look perfect tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, my incredibly talented co-host, Mr. Kyle Henry.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. I have to say, I really, really love the lyrics to that song. I like to think of this as a dedication song from all of the husbands waiting backstage to their wives.
And the delegates' husbands are definitely a very important part of what the Mrs. International system is all about.
They give a tremendous amount of support to their wives, not only tonight, but throughout the entire year.
Which is exactly why here at the Mrs. International pageant, each finalist is escorted by her husband during the evening gown competition.
And we're going to get to see that in just a moment. Our judges will be looking for each delegate to showcase elegance, poise, and grace in this event, which accounts for 25% of overall score. But Rebecca, before we go on, you just announced some very, very special guests that are with us tonight, but you are also a very special guest, not just our co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, your Mrs. International 2007, Rebecca Negretti.
Thank you.
Yes. And now,
we're going to wrap up tonight's competition with the evening gown competition. Starting with top 16, finalist number 1, Lori Mendoza, Mrs. Nevada International, escorted by her husband, Philip. Top 16, finalist number 1, Lori Mendoza, Mrs. Nevada International, and her husband, Philip.
Finalist number 2 is Mrs. Georgia International, Melanie Caceres, escorted by her husband, Alex. That's finalist number 2, Mrs. Georgia International, Melanie Caceres, and her husband, Alex.
Finalist number 3, Mrs. Virginia International, Tiffany Borsheim, escorted by her husband, Major Wyatt Borsheim. Finalist number 3, Mrs. Virginia International, Tiffany Borsheim, and her husband, Major Wyatt Borsheim.
Finalist number 4 is Mrs. Florida International, Vida Hargret, escorted by her husband, Kriston. is finalist number 4, Vida Hargret, Mrs. Florida International, and her husband, Chris Don.
Finalist number 5, Melissa Parker, Mrs. Southeast International, escorted by her husband, Ted. Southeast International, finalist number 5, Melissa Parker and her husband, Ted.
Finalist number 6 is Amanda Lieber, Mrs. Pennsylvania International, escorted by her husband, Chris. That is finalist number 6, Mrs. Pennsylvania International, Amanda Lieber, and her husband, Chris.
Finalist number 7, Mrs. Arizona International, Andrea Brower, escorted tonight by her husband, Ross. Mrs. Arizona International, finalist number 7, Andrea Brower, and her husband, Ross.
Finalist number 8 is Mrs. Midwest International, Ashley Ray Klinger, escorted by